Awesome. Hi. I like the guys in the front row. They're going to pay attention. Troublemakers in the back row, usually, right? So, hey, willkommen. Thank you for allowing me to present in English. Trust me, your English is better than my Süßdeutsch. We're going to talk about marketing, and we're going to talk about the problems that we're having in marketing. We're going to also talk about the solutions. I also want to say that at the end of this presentation, under your chair, one chair is going to say winner, and you get to take home this Tesla. Isn't that great? Okay, I'm just kidding about that. I'm not Oprah. We're going to talk about fusion marketing. Fusion marketing happened as a result of me trying to understand marketing. It's been so difficult. How many people here are just overwhelmed with the number of choices? Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, and then you have all of the traditional marketing. So when I consult with the larger companies around the world, I have a lot of trouble wrapping our heads around all of the different possibilities in marketing. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about that solution. Nice. What you're about to see is actually a system. Now, it's actually patent pending in the United States. The only reason I did that is to give it validity. I'll never enforce the patent, so by all means, feel free to steal all these concepts. Matter of fact, at the end of the presentation, if you want the slides, you can have all of the slides for free. I'll show you how to do that. The first question that you have to ask yourself is, and you've heard this before, I know that half of my advertising isn't working. I just don't know which half. And you have to ask that. Too often, we spend a lot of money. We do marketing exactly the same way all the time. We do what we did last year. We throw more money at it, hoping that it's going to be more effective. And generally, it's not. Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. And that's what we do as marketers. That's what we do for our clients as consultants and agencies. By the way, that wasn't Ogilvy and Mathers. That wasn't a big firm. It was Lord Leverhulme who actually coined that phrase. And he and his bro founded Lever Brothers, which became Unilever, which is one of the largest companies in the world. So he knows a little bit about marketing and advertising. You have to be asking this question. Which half of your advertising is working and which half is simply not? 10 years ago, if you were in marketing up until about 10 years ago, which I was, if you look at the items that are listed on this list, that's all we had to worry about. That was traditional marketing, generally 20 things. We did TV and newspaper, radio, direct mail, merchandising, specialty advertising, and it was fairly simple. It was a lot of work. It was completely ineffective. We never measured it because it was very difficult to measure traditional marketing. And then about 10 years ago, something happened. Originally, it was called Web 2.0, which nobody knew what the heck that was all about. And then eventually, we settled in on a term called social media. And we had all this additional stuff to worry about as marketers. So if you're marketing for your company, for your own personal company, for a company you're working with, if you're a consultant, if you're an agency, your workload more than doubled. And it's increasing continuously every single day. More and more things are being added to this list. So the biggest problem that I had in consulting is working with my clients and wrapping our brains around everything that was available to us. What is working? What isn't? How do you measure it? What's most effective for our product or our service? The one thing that we're going to start with is a basic fact. Everything that we do in marketing, everything that we do has to generate some type of a return, has to generate some kind of money. If you're doing something in marketing that's not generating money, then stop it. You're spending money foolishly. So this system is going to show you how to identify it. Now, the first thing is I do a lot of social media conferences. As you heard earlier, I'm the author of the Social Media Bible, 3rd edition, 5 languages, and it just broke the $2 million sales mark, which I'm really proud to say that's kind of a big deal for a business book. When I go to the social media conferences, so many times, speakers and authors and experts call themselves social media experts. If you're calling yourself a social media expert, you know what you're telling me? That you only understand half of what's necessary to market effectively. Because you can't eliminate traditional. The companies like Procter & Gamble that started in the early days and shifted all of their traditional budget to social media, that was one of the most foolish things that they can do because most of their demographic was still using traditional. Now, traditional is less effective today than it has ever been. But we also know that social media is plummeting. Facebook conversion is awful. Twitter advertising is almost a waste of time. I just read a recent report that they tested 165,000 hashtags and found that they were completely worthless. So the question is what really is working nowadays? So don't call yourself a social media expert. Call yourself a marketing expert. And in order to do that, you have to take traditional, all the tools of traditional, and you have to fully integrate them with everything that you can do on every single social platform and understand how they work together. If you are only focusing on a certain set of tools, you're doing yourself a disfavor and you will not be effective, especially with the current trends. The first thing that I did to try to wrap my brain around all the different types of marketing, again, not only for me, but my clients, is I created this wheel. I called it the traditional wheel. And what I wanted to do is to put all the different tools, and by the way, feel free to take some pictures, but you can have the slides. I'm going to give you away at the end. I wanted to put them all together so that when I sat down with a client, when I sat down to do my own marketing plan, I own 3 companies, and every year, every quarter, every product launch, every campaign, I have to think about all the different tools available. So I created this traditional wheel. And I did this so that I can see all of the tools simultaneously. When I created the wheel, it was like, I wasn't that impressed. It's just a wheel with a bunch of traditional tools wrapped around it. But then after I started looking at it for a while, here's the first thing that I realized. OMG! That happens to be every tool available, at least all of the major tools that are available in traditional marketing. So if you're going to sit down and do a campaign, a product launch, an annual marketing plan, don't you think you ought to have some kind of a guideline, some kind of an image, some kind of a list of all of the possibilities? Or are you going to do what you did last year and throw more money at it and hope that it works? So what I found, not only personally, but when working with the clients, I can look at this and deliberately make a decision. I can go around that wheel and say, okay, tell me how effective was direct mail? How effective was television? What was the ROI? What was the efficiency of it? Television is extremely expensive in the States, and I'm sure it's expensive here. Most companies can't afford it. So if you've got a low ROI, a low return, but you're spending a lot of money, maybe television isn't the right choice. But just because you didn't do it last year doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it this year. Something might have changed. So by looking at this wheel, I now know all the possibilities in traditional marketing. And I can make a conscious decision to either do it or not to do it. I'm not going to fall into the trap of doing what I did last year. Now, here's something else that came out of it. When I invent things, I'm the inventor of the first computer to save a human life. I have 18 inventions in the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., 14 inventions in the Computer History Museum, 30,000 of my personal records are part of the Smithsonian collection. I have 3 patents on 3-dimensional internet advertising. So I know a little bit about this stuff. So when I sit down and look at this, I want to see relationships. Are there any relationships between anything up there? Of course not. Those are just independent traditional marketing tools. So the first thing that I did is I took a look at the wheel and I wanted to pick out what I thought was the worst possible tool available to us in marketing. Traditional. That's coupons. I hate coupons. Coupons are intended to pass out to people who have never tried your product, to give them incentive to use your product or service for the very first time. That could be a coupon, it could be any type of a discount. But who's using coupons? The people that have already used your product, that already have a relationship with your brand, so you're leaving money on the table. That's why I don't like coupons. They're not very effective. But we all use them because, you know what? That's what you did last year. The other tool, business cards. Does everybody here have business cards? Are you carrying them? I'm really shocked on how many people come to these type of events and don't carry business cards. You almost caught me on it, but I had them in my briefcase. Thank you for that. Business cards. Can anybody here say that I handed out a business card and that generated X amount of euros? No, that's kind of ridiculous to even, dude, see, he's in the front row. I told you, keep your eye on the people in the front row.
In the Japan market, it works.
In the Japan market, it works. Rest of the world, it doesn't. You hand out the business cards, most people just file them or throw them away. They don't even get into the CRM system. So let's take a look at these two. Is there a relationship between coupons and business cards? That's kind of ridiculous even to say that. There is no relationship. What if we're doing these forms of marketing anyway. What if on the back of your business card you put a QR barcode that somebody can shoot and a video of you comes up and said, hey, you and I met. We've actually touched one another, legally of course, shook hands. That's a strong relationship that you won't get off of social media. Why don't you shoot the barcode below, have your phone automatically call my office, and I'll spend a half an hour on the phone answering any questions you have about digital marketing. Do you think that that would have any effect on the revenue generated as a result of that business card? Absolutely. Could you imagine? You and I meet, we exchange business cards, 24 hours later, you got a video of me asking you to give me a call so that I can give you some free advice. You better believe it. You know what that means. Once I get you on the phone, it gives me the opportunity to build a relationship and close a deal. So yes, I want you to think about that for a second. Here's two items that had nothing to do with each other, but without this image, you would never think of mixing the two, matching them, fully integrating them. By putting a coupon of sorts, a discount on your business card. How much does it cost to have business cards printed? It's almost nothing. And if you're working for a large company, think of how many business cards every day, every week, every month, every year could be handed out to potential customers and get a personal video greeting on the back of every business card. Wow, I was really excited about this. This is integration at a level that I never even thought of. Now, what if I reverse that? What if I put business card information on a coupon? You know, most coupons is an 800 number. The customer calls, the receptionist has no idea who to put them through to. They get disconnected. One for Deutsch, one for Swiss Deutsch, 2 for Spanish, 3 for English, 4 for, oh my God, 5 for, just hang up the phone and shoot yourself. You've all been in those terrible menus. Why do we do that to our customers? Why not put a person's number on that coupon? Why not, instead of just putting them into the general website, why not give them an email where they can contact an individual to get the questions that they want? That's the fastest way to a relationship. So by putting business card information on your coupons, you're making your coupons significantly more effective. They'll do better. So what we end up with is fusion. By fusing all the different tools, which we have never thought about before, we will see an exponential increase in their effectiveness, and it won't cost you any more money because you're already doing this stuff anyway. Isn't that kind of cool? Then what I found when I looked at this, I can take every single thing, there we go, on this wheel and connect it with every single thing else. You might not think at first. You're going to say, well, you can't connect events and email. Yeah, you can, but you have to give it a little bit of thought. And that's the beauty of this interconnection, and that's called fusion. So you can imagine I couldn't wait to get to social media, writing the largest book ever to this day on social media, 750-page book. That's why we call it the Social Media Bible. I couldn't wait. This is the 20 major chapters in the book, the 20 major categories. So I said, well, let's see if it works for digital the way it just worked for traditional. Let me take the two worst. I'm going to take virtual worlds. Yeah, Second Life. Don't make fun of me. I'm not that old. I know what's going on. Second Life was big in 2007 to 2011, and it's not being used anymore, virtual worlds. However, as a marketer, you had better practice virtual worlds and augmented reality, virtual reality and augmented, because that's where it's going. If you haven't logged in 200 hours on a virtual platform, you're going to be left behind, because that's where we're going. With the Google Glass and the Oculus, you know full well that's where. What about Pokemon? You know what? 6 months ago, you never even heard of augmented reality. Now everybody's talking about it. It snuck up on you. I've been teaching it for 10 years. This stuff is coming, trust me. Second Life is the easiest way to experience virtual reality. So let's see. As a marketing tool, it failed. I've been on there for almost 10 years. As a communication, collaboration tool, it's amazing. It is so much fun. But as a marketing tool, never made it, unfortunately. But it's going to come back, trust me, as virtual reality begins to catch on more and more, especially 3D immersive. But for now, let's just talk about it in its current state. As a marketing tool, it's one of the worst tools. Your website is one of your worst possible tools. Oh yeah, I know, I'm sounding like a heretic. No, your website is a bad tool. You don't close business as a result of your website. When people come to your website, it's just to check credibility. Do you have a website? Are you real, or are you making this up? Once they see it, they're going to go out to Facebook, they're going to go out to Yelp, they're going to go out to other review platforms to see how good a company or how good a product or service you have. Okay, so websites and Second Life, what do they have in common? Absolutely nothing. A virtual world and a website has nothing to do with each other. So one of the first things that I did, I have 3 companies. I looked at all of my websites and realized I don't have mentioned anywhere on any website that I participated in Second Life. So I went into Second Life, went into my office, took a picture of my avatar in my virtual office, and put it on my website. You know what I saw? The first 24 hours, a 400% increase in traffic to my property in Second Life. A 400% increase. Why? Because all of the traffic that I was sending to my website had no idea that I participated in virtual worlds. That then took some of the traffic and actually moved it into another one of my marketing platforms, because I had 2 stores, 2 e-commerce stores, one that sold CDs and DVDs, educational products, and another one that sold basically my books. 400% increase. Doing them both anyway. Wouldn't you want a 400% increase in effectiveness of anything that you're doing without doing any more work? This will help you to do that. Now, can we reverse it? Can we do a reverse on it? So I go into Second Life. Does it mention anything about me being a keynote speaker or being a trainer or a consultant? Never thought of putting that in there. Just never crossed my mind. There's too much to think about. So I put a big banner up, visit my e-commerce website, extremedigitalmarketing.com, and guess what I saw? First 24 hours, 180% increase to my e-commerce website. No additional work, no additional money. It's just a matter of taking something that I'm already doing and driving traffic to something else. That's fusion marketing, and reverse. So when you look at everything that you can do in digital marketing, can you use all of your platforms to drive all of your other platforms? On Facebook, are you pushing people to Twitter? On Twitter, are you asking people to sign up for your email? Oh, if you love my 140 characters, you're going to love my email, where I don't have a restriction. I can go on forever. Are you taking people from LinkedIn and asking them to connect with you on Facebook? Don't think that people can just assume that, don't you assume that they're going to remember that you're on these different platforms. And everybody usually participates in more than one platform. Use one platform to drive the other. Now, you know where I'm going with this. I want to put them both together. I want the top 20 things that we can do in traditional and the top 20 things that we can do in digital, and I want to put them in one wheel. I want to connect them. I want to see how many new ideas and efficiencies that I can discover by connecting each of these things on the wheel. But you see that we may have a little bit of a problem here? This is where your head will literally explode. Blood will come out of your ear if you try to do this. And the reason is there's just too many choices. 20 of these, 20 of those, 40. You start with the first one and connect it to the next, the next, the next, and then you move to number 2 and you connect it and you go all the way around the wheel. This is how many different connections there are. Let me rephrase this. This is how many opportunities are right in front of you that you've never thought about, that you couldn't see because you didn't have a system to see it. But now we got to do something to fix this. This is overwhelming. It's not going to work. And I was really sad when I got to this part. I was excited to get here, but then when I saw it, I was like, nobody can do this. I can't do this. So we got to figure out a way to pick the best of the best? What if we could actually pick only the half of the advertising that was working and eliminate the half that isn't? I want you to think about that just for a second. You get a double impact if you can do that. Here's why. Not only are you not wasting money on what's not working, but that revenue, the financial resources and human resources, can now be applied to something that is working. You get twice the value if you can figure out what's working and what's not. That's huge. So when we look at the ROI, when we actually measure, you've heard the saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. Start measuring it. I agree. If you're an agency, if you've done traditional marketing, in the past it was impossible. 10 years ago it was impossible. Today, are you kidding me? Not impossible. Put a different text telephone number on every different billboard. That way you know what intersection is doing the best billboard response at the exact time of the day and what day of the week. In your newspaper ad, put a different QR barcode in every single different ad. Every day, for every publication. That way you know exactly which publication is doing well and which isn't. What time of the day it's doing well. What day of the week. We can measure everything in traditional nowadays. So if we get into this frame of mind where we start to measure, which as marketers, we're not comfortable with, I understand that, but you have to. We're at a stage in marketing you have to measure. You can't keep throwing money at advertising that isn't working. So what will happen is, a lot of this stuff will just simply fall off the radar. You'll find that some things just don't generate a good enough return on investment. That's what we're looking for. So what is the next step? We do the same thing with social media. We measure Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's not that hard. And we figure out which ones work and which ones don't. At this point, we have a completely customized set of what I call tradigital tools. The very best traditional, the very best digital and social. The ones that work best for you. For this annual marketing report, quarterly marketing report, campaign, product launch, everything has been thought through one tool at a time and measured. It's not that much work. Now, I want to talk about fractal. If you're not familiar with the term fractal, get familiar with it. Anything that you've ever seen that's been computer generated, every mountain, every tree, every blade of grass is based on fractal analysis. All it means is that you can start with an image. This is a fractal image. And you can zoom in on this complex image. The farther in you zoom, this image will repeat itself exactly the same. You zoom in more and more and more, and it repeats itself again. And you can do that infinitely. That's the cool thing about a fractal. Or you can actually zoom out. So I use that as the basis for the next step. Now keep in mind, up to this point, we have the best traditional, the best social, best digital. Now, if these are the best tools, are we using them the most appropriately? What if we did this? Let's suppose these were the tools that we picked as being the best because we measured them. Now, if we say that social networks is a tool that should be part of our marketing plan, which it is, and most of us almost always stop there, why don't we look deeper? So if we take one of those tools, social network, put it in the center of the wheel, and simply ask, what are the 10 best practices that businesses around the world are doing using Facebook? You've never asked that question. You just try to make it up. Why reinvent the wheel? Google it. There are people out there that are crazy, and all they do is these top 10 lists. So you can get, if you Google it, an up-to-date top 10 list of best practices for business on Facebook. Why not make that part of your marketing plan rather than guessing or doing what you did last year? So we're going to take one of the tools, we're going to put it in the middle, and we're going to drill down, and we're going to say, what are the 10 best practices? These, first, we start with what are the 10 best social networks? Makes sense? We put social networks, we ask what are the top 10, then we drill down what are the top 10 best practices. And we interconnect them. On On Facebook, are you asking people to sign up at Twitter? On Twitter, are you sending out tweets asking people to sign up for your email? On your email, are you asking people use all of your marketing to increase the effectiveness of all of your other marketing? Then we drill down, we get the best practices. So if you think that social networks is important to you and your company and your marketing or your clients, yeah, what are the top 10 that you need to participate? Google it, put it in the wheel, and then drill down one more time. What are the top 10 best practices? You want to put together an entire strategy plan? This is how you do it. Don't make it up. Okay, so let's take a look at customer service. Customer service is traditional, CRM. Customer service is important. It's one of the most important marketing tools that you have. You've heard the old saying that a happy customer, remember the study from the 80s, a happy customer will tell 5 to 7 people about a good experience, but an unhappy customer will tell 15 to 17 people, right? That's nonsense. That hasn't worked since 1985. Do you know what an unhappy customer will do? They won't tell 15 people. They'll tell 15,000 people. They'll tell 150,000 people because they got the ability to do that now. So if you're thinking that customer service is not part of your marketing, you have to change your mindset because they could make or break your company product much faster than anything that you can do in marketing. Please consider that. So if you agree that customer service is something that you should be aware of, are you practicing the top 10 best practices in customer service? Have you even asked that question? Probably not as a marketing person. But if customer service is one of the tools, take it from the outside of the wheel, put it in the center, and let's drill down a little bit and make sure that we're doing it correctly, at least according to best practices. Are you with me? I know there's a lot of stuff here, but do you see how simple it is? All your traditional, all your digital, pick out the best ones, put them together, take one, put it in the center of the wheel, drill down, what are the top 10 networks? Drill down, what are the best practices? You get, this way, it's customized and it becomes the best possible marketing strategy for your company, your product, your services. Now, one last thing. What if we merged? What if we fused? Gets back to the concept of fusion marketing. What if we actually fused customer service and Facebook? On Facebook, do you have all your frequently asked questions that customer service has to answer all the time? Do people know it? Do you help people with their customer service issues on Facebook? Probably never even thought about it. Why not do it? Best Buy. Best Buy has 35,000 volunteers. If you're not familiar with Best Buy, it's one of the largest electronics company in the US. They have 35,000 volunteers that anybody who has any difficulty with any of the product, setting it up, HDMI cables, whatever it is, that all you have to do is send out a tweet and instantly you get the answer to whatever problem you're having with any of their electronics problems. They built a network of 35,000 people, volunteers. And they're using Twitter to do customer service. And Best Buy is listed as one of the best customer service companies in the United States. On your on-hold message to customer service, are you reminding people to go to Facebook to find their answers? Are you asking them to friend you? So do you see, fusion marketing is looking at every single thing that you do and fusing it with everything else. You're still doing Facebook, you're still doing customer service. There's no additional expense, but the effectiveness is significantly raised. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing. Strategy. Everybody understands strategy. Everybody in this room unquestionably is an expert on strategy. That's why you're here, because this is what you do. But I want you in your head right now to define what strategy is. And I may call on you. Just define it. I want a one-sentence, crisp, clear answer on how you develop a marketing strategy. You're all experts. This should come natural to you. Not that easy, is it? It's not. When I was writing the book, I was looking forward to this because I do strategies for companies. I've been doing it for 30 years. The problem that I had when I started typing, I couldn't summarize it. It was kind of like the word synergy. You know what synergy, where the sum of the parts are greater or equal to than the parts of the sum if you add them together, something. Synergy is strategy is difficult to define because it's not a thing. Strategy is not a thing. It's the sum of other parts. Just bear with me on this. Strategy is not a thing, but it's the sum of all of the other parts. So to define what a strategy is, you have to use the name of the other parts. Things like objectives and goals and tools and tactics. But that's not what a strategy is. Let me show you what strategy really is. And this will help you find your strategy specific to your company, your plan, your product launch, your campaign. First of all, we're going to start with the word objective. Objective and goal are not the same. They're not synonyms. Take the word goal and throw it away. Goal is an arbitrary number that the sales vice president or financial vice president made up to demoralize you in the sales team. Think about a goal. Any goal that you've ever been asked to meet has no more logic than picking it out of the air. We're going to do what we did last year plus 10%. Why? If we did the best possible job we could have done last year, why do we have to do 10% more? Why isn't it 8%? How come it's not 17%? They have no logic for it. So I want you to eliminate goal. Now, if you got a VP, somebody sitting in the corner office that has to have this to make them happy, give them the number and tell them to leave your office. Go play with that number. We're going to get back to work. Goal is not objectives. Now, what is objectives? Your objectives are what do you want your marketing to accomplish? I want you to say this in your head. What do you want your marketing to accomplish in this campaign, in this quarter, in this annual strategy? So, here's the one that I actually put together for 2016. Increase my email list. That's something that I can use all of my tools in marketing to achieve. Because I know that if I can increase my email list, I'm going to increase my reach. If I increase my reach, I'm going to increase my revenue. Just that simple. Email marketing to me is still one of the most powerful forms of marketing and sales. Did you know that email converts 40 times better than Facebook? When you found out about this conference, was it on Facebook or did you get an email? The transaction was closed in email. It was. So don't discount email. It's the most powerful, highest conversion rate tool that we have access to. So I want to increase my email list. Next, drive more attendance to my presentations. Next, perform more webinars. Why? Every time I do this, it increases my reach. So this is what I set out for 2016. More international presentations. Hello, I'm from Los Angeles. It must be working because I'm in the beautiful city of Zurich. How cool is this? So you set up somewhere between 3 to 5 objectives. But that's all. Don't overwhelm yourself because when you see how the rest of this goes and how effective it is, if you come up with more than 5 objectives, you won't have enough human resources or financial resources to actually do them all. Pick the most important. Okay, 3 to 5 objectives. We all know goals don't count. Okay, so what's the next thing? Tools. Where can I find a set of customized, well thought through, well measured, greatest return on investment, traditional tools, digital tools, and social tools? If only I can find a customized list that's perfect for my company. Isn't that what we just did in the previous 15 or 20 minutes? We determined what the best possible tools are. A customized set of tools based on real-life measurements that works not for your company, but your company. They won't work for anybody else. It's the best for you. The tools are already created. Now you're going to love this next part. There's your tactics. There it is. How do I use my presentations to increase my email list? I'll tell you, several times I've already said that at the next slide, the end of the presentation, that if you want these slides, you can have them. All you have to do is put in your email address. I'll send you a password. You download the slides. How about that? everybody in the audience who wants the slides are going to give me their email address. And you can opt out. I follow the US Can-Spam Act. I'm not going to sell or do anything with your email address. However, I do want the opportunity to continue the conversation. Isn't that a good idea? What if on Twitter, I sent out a tweet that said, hey, if you like my tweets, you're going to love my email. But I don't take them to my home page or my Facebook page. I take them right to the email sign-up. System now for creating a marketing plan. It's a tool. It's not only fun, but it's easy to use. I've used it in every major continent in the world. It really does work. It is so much fun. When you go down through 5 objectives, this is why I say no more than 3 to 5 objectives. If you have 5 objectives and you have 20 tools, for each objective, it's going to be that objective times 20 tools. So when you're done, you're going to have 100 proven effective tactics. 100. How are you going to actually do 100 things in your company or for your client? You're not going to be able to. But isn't it wonderful that you can throw away 50 of them and pick the best, and even the ones that you're throwing away are still good? That's the beauty of this. So what you then do is you prioritize each of these tactics. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your strategy. There it is. Your objectives, your tools, 100 prioritized tactics, and when you put all of that together in one comprehensive plan, that's your strategy. Isn't that cool? All right. You think it's cool. How about somebody in the back row? Yeah, okay, good. We got one hand up. I like that. Okay, that's fusion marketing. Now I'm going to open up for question and answers, Q&A. I hope I communicated it properly. There's a lot of data in here. Let's go to the next slide. If you want to get the slides, go to lonsafco.com. That's me. Top right-hand corner, get access. Click it, put your email address in, you get a password, go get the slides. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, plus you promised a ride in the Tesla.
Okay.
Okay.
So we actually went for the best price. So this is only the second best. The best one is this here. And you can easily bring it over to the States. It would have been a hassle to bring that over. Now, you see, this is my microphone and would like to throw it into the public, into the audience. Are there any questions?
Don't throw it at them.
Who is starting? Of course,
if you don't ask
there
a question,
are,
you have to buy
who
dinner.
Is starting it? It's easy.
You got to have a question. You were paying attention, and you were paying attention. This guy's got a question.
I think so.
Oh, he's pointing to him.
What do you think about Asian markets, perhaps? Just the tools you mentioned, we would like to have them, but they're quite expensive. So how you make the choice about focusing? How do you do that?
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of the tools are too expensive. If you're a small business, most traditional tools are prohibitively expensive. So how do you pick the tools? What I want you to do is to start out with that wheel the way you see it. Now, make some blank cards in case there's something I didn't think of or something that's unique to your company, product, or region. That's fine. But I want you to at least ask the question, is television reasonable? Yeah, probably not. It's too expensive. So take it, flick it away. Is radio appropriate? Maybe still too expensive for a small or medium size. Knock it out of the way. But go through the wheel, but it forces you to at least consciously make a decision about every single tool that's available. And you know by past measurement which ones are going to have the greatest return on investment. Television may not, radio may not, newspaper maybe, but it forces you to ask that question. From now on, I want you to do marketing deliberately and not accidentally or the way you did it last year. Until you get down to the tools that are less expensive, more effective.
You got the expert here in the room, so please feel free to, the next question here, 1 second.
Thanks for breaking the ice.
Wow.
That's cool.
Well, I got a question. When you think about a startup, and you have to create a completely new strategy, what's the point you start with?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm a startup kind of a guy. I've built 14 companies in my career, and one of my companies is part of the Smithsonian Institute. So yeah, startup is really near and dear to my heart because entrepreneur, I don't know if you're familiar, the term entrepreneur is the French word for cheap. We don't have any money as an entrepreneur in a startup, so money is really critical. Advertising, generally, we don't have much or any budget. So same thing. Let's start with that wheel. Take a look at traditional. Take a look at your demographic. Take a look at where your customers and prospects live. Where are they? Maybe it could be the newspaper. Maybe you can cut a deal. Maybe it's a trade journal because it's a very selective audience. Maybe that's just too expensive. But do you see, the traditional wheel is going to force you to ask those questions and have that discussion. Then when you look over at social, maybe it is social. First of all, for startups, no question about it. Start building your email list as quickly as possible. I mean, really focus on it. Everything that you do, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, I don't care what it is. Push them all to email. Start creating what we call fish food. I want to see infographics. I want to see white papers. I want to see videos. I want to see whatever you can attract people that they'll exchange their email address for. Build it. And then start working on your social platforms. And don't rule out things like Snapchat and Pinterest. I just had an amazing success with a company that sells products on Pinterest. In the US, in South America, and parts of Asia, Pinterest is one of the most powerful sales tools. And it doesn't cost anything to use. So, and we can talk offline if you want more ideas. I love entrepreneurial startups. So if you're in one, congratulations.
Thank you.
Up front.
Up front.
And then her.
How come you have such an old school website even though you're in...
How come I have what?
Such an old school website?
Because it just got hacked.
Mobile that well.
Thank you. Thank you. The question, if you haven't heard, is why does my website suck? That's what you were really thinking. Because I just got hacked again. Ever since the social media Bible come out, for some reason, I must have done something to piss off the Russians. Because they have been hacking the hell out of me. Excuse me, it's a very emotional subject. They took down my email server, they took down all of my websites, and I'm just putting it back together. So I told I have a company in India, put up anything for this, and we'll fix it later. Good question. Huh?
The sign up for the slides doesn't work. The sign up for the slides.
See? Okay, I'm still getting hacked. Believe it or not, I swear to you, 30 minutes before I got on stage here, I was with my ISP in America trying to get some of this stuff fixed for today's presentation, and I apologize. Send me an email. That's still working, lonsafco@lonsafco.com, and I promise I'll send you the slides. And I apologize, but I'm glad you pointed it out because you'll see it if you look at this. It sucks.
Yeah, we have one or two last questions. Who is on? The expert is here. Here.
This is going to be a good question. I can tell by the look.
Okay, how do you convince the management to support you and to invest in your social media strategy? As most of them don't care, don't understand, and unfortunately also too old to get starting with it.
So what you're saying, because there's a lot of background noise, social media isn't really working because the demographic doesn't use social media?
I'm not saying that. I'm just wondering, how do you convince the management to support you and to invest, as they usually don't really understand and care?
How do you convince management that social platforms is a viable form of marketing? If you can't have them assassinated or retired, you may have to quit. You know, there's only one thing that convinces management, and that's success. That's revenue, it's ROI. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to show some successes. If you don't have the financial and human resources to do it internally, then go find some white papers and some reports on similar companies that have had successes in the areas that you're trying to prove. And just casually print them and leave them on their chair so that they accidentally find them in the morning. Because, by the way, it has to be their idea, because if they don't think of it, it doesn't count. So you got your work cut out for you, and that's still a really big problem. Believe it or not, in most American companies, it's still a problem. But if you can show them an ROI, they'll start to listen. Then, if you can just have a small success of your own, then they'll buy in. But it's going to be a time-consuming process. Unfortunately, you're going to have to spend more time on them than your marketing.
Yeah, good one. So, very final question: who is in the audience having to the expert here?
Come on, it's like free consulting.
Yeah, take it as a free consulting. Already all experts.
Okay, we get. See, it's always the front 2 rows. I'm telling you.
What if you don't have one person responsible for social media, and you don't have the time to make like everyday posts, whatever? Would you consider to still do it, at least have it, or just leave it?
So the question, if I got it correctly, the question is, if I don't have the human resources to manage and maintain and actively engage on social platforms, what do we do? Hootsuite. I mean, that's one of the fastest ways. I spend most of my time traveling around India, Asia, and Europe. I spend very little time at home, which my wife, by the way, is getting really upset with. This might be my last international travel for a while. What I do is I pre-program everything into Hootsuite. I mean, it only costs $10 US, about 10 euros. And what you can do is you can put in all your tweets, posts, updates, status, everything, all into an Excel spreadsheet. So what I'll do is I'll get a video of one of my presentations, and I'll start pulling stuff out that I didn't even remember I said, and I'll put them in the Excel. Oh, that sounds smart. Oh, most people don't know that. And then I just upload it. If you have a paid account, you can just upload it. And then tell it what time you want those to go out. So Monday through Friday, 3 times a day, I have stuff goes out to every single network, and I don't have to get involved. Now, yesterday, when I was in downtown Zurich, I was posting pictures to Facebook like it was crazy because it's so beautiful here. So I do update with live stuff, but I want to make sure that my brand is continuously engaging 3 times a day, 5 days a week. So yeah, I use Hootsuite to do that. And there's other tools out there that you can use, but that's inexpensive. It's very easy to use. It's really important to stay engaged. Otherwise, your customers, your prospects will simply lose interest in you.
Great, so what I have learned is that not format is king, content is king, and that was a royal speech. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So that was Lansafco, and you can download everything, or you can have this old-fashioned business card or whatever, and just go to Amazon old-fashioned website as well and download it. He will be grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The next one in here is in half an hour, and there is another speech then at the Media Kitchen on Omnichannel is Bullshit from Niels Hafner at 2 o'clock. I wish you a good afternoon. Thank you very much.
And a good conference. Thank you.